can start. So the first thing I want to say, just there he is. Let me move. He comes down. It's not even on. All right. So the first thing is generally about that I'm going to talk about. Um, and Mugen's not on either. Hold on, let me actually get him on because he should be playing a lot. If Mugen gets on, can you just move him, Kev? If he gets on mid, whatever, because I'm just about to start. All right, so today we're going over power offenses in D7. The first point that I'm going to make about D7 and power offenses in general is that we're always going to be down a fighting class on defense. It's always going to be the case against a fighting class, and so we really don't want to ever look to overcommit, and we don't have to because we're always going to have a medic. So that's the first rule to always remember. And one of the biggest things I'm seeing in OVDs and mixes is that a lot of people are playing kind of hero ball, taking a lot of 1v3s, a lot of 1v4s in bad situations where we don't have to take bad spots. I know that's like Worth is fighting all of his inner demons just hearing that right now, but we don't have to take terrible, terrible fights on defense. We don't have to take these awful fights unless we are find ourselves in a position where we just can't escape. If they trap us with a rep charge, everybody makes those mistakes every now and then you can try and fight it out and see what you can do. But we're just going to play very standard and make the offense come to us. Anything that the offense has to waste early is an enormous win for the defense. Okay. They're on a timer, and that timer is their health. So anything we inflict before we get to the area that we fight over, which is how I design my defenses, is we fight in that bottom area. That's where we'll fight, is right before the reds. So any bit of damage we can do, any bit of chip damage here after we've drained in certain spots is going to be a huge win. That's the first point I'm going to make about just generally playing defense, especially in D7. The other huge advantage we have is suppressive fire. So we're going to have rets. So that's what we're going to base our entire defense around, is that we have a medic who can heal us so we don't have to take dumb, long fights. We can always test. We can always come up and look to land an RG, fight it out a little bit. But the moment we lose, we can just retreat. Be honest if you're losing a fight, and retreat. Get healed. Anything you did to that offensive player is a win. And when we get back, we're going to look to them play around turrets. It's one of the biggest things I can tell any defense from watching months of OVDs and mixes where people want to fight in areas where you have no turrets and no medic help and no EB. That's just bad defense in D7. Those are kind of the broader points that I'm going to go over. If you have any questions about that, those are just the inherent strengths of defenses, that you're always going to have heals available to you. Okay, that's so we don't have to take 1v4s, 1v3s. We don't have to solo push out. If you can PM me if you have any immediate questions, and then I'm going to move on to addressing specifically D7. Okay, so everybody on the defense, we're just going to do a mock run, and I'm going to talk through what we're going to do. Come up here. We start here. All right, so we don't want to concede space. That's another issue with the way a lot of defenses are playing, is that even in D7, we're starting back here. A lot of defenses are giving that first. We want them to come in immediately under fire. So even engineers, I want us starting right here. Medic starts where Dila is. That's perfectly fine. We want to be safe no matter what. But I want all of the imps. Who did we lose here? Or did I not get it? Let's see, Jake didn't show, so I'm just gonna put in my boy Joe. I don't think so. I don't think so, man. Not like it used to anyway. Metal has a temporary invulnerability still exists, and I don't think it does for as long as it used to on Sony. But I could get if anybody knows an answer to that, y'all can answer. I'm not really sure. I don't think it exists as long as it seemed to on Sony. All right, so Joe, come up here where Hearth and BT come here. All right, so normal run, we're just immediately blasting as they come in, draining as hard as we can. Shotgun, call, everything's here. We retreat, play it very normally. There's nothing really super to note here, except for when we get to about here, we're directing all fire at either the nearest target or the largest clump, right? So whichever is better. If you see a nearest target that's solo, we're going to direct everything at that. When we get to this first turn, all right, everybody retreat back here. BT if you can. Play it like a normal, like you're retreating. Earth, run back here, please.
Oops, sorry, typing.
You're good.
There we go.
Once we get here, I want so both shotgun DMs to throw WPs against this wall. But time both WPs against this wall. Again, they should be taking a lot of drain. This is typically where offenses are going to want to energize before they take this rep. So if we can sneak in a WP or any nades right there, that's awesome. Now I'm gonna split sides. So I'm gonna have dilatory, BT, Hearth go over left. We're gonna have Caw and Worth right. We're gonna go over right side obligations and responsibilities first, then I'll come back to left. I'm gonna try not to get too terribly specific so y'all remember and I can simplify what I want from this side. This side is very straightforward. Joe, the Caw Inf, will always be on the right. If you play Caw Inf in D7 this week at all, and I think there are a lot of us rotating through it, you're always going to be on the right side calling in my defense. Always. That's all you're responsible for, unless you're obviously pushing out and you're clearing out the left side. But you're going to start off always on the right side with the shotgun inf. In this hallway, we do not like one of the biggest killers, I mean, obviously, right, of any defense is just an early fluky death. So Worth, you're responsible as the shotgun right side inf for stepping up, shooting an RG if you see him land a full call, but also for repping for Joe. We want call to always be up as much as it can be. So you're responsible for repping for Joe. We don't want to rep too much in this area, so I'm hoping y'all can just avoid damage, get as much drain, get a nade off the corner, RG, anything we can land. Again, we don't have to take a final stand here at all. We're just looking to get damage and make them earn this space. We don't want to give this space up for free. So once we get down to here, left side can come down too if you want, but then I'll talk back through what left side does after this. So when we get to here, same thing. If they're holding, same thing what we talked about earlier. As we're retreating, if they're going to go and try and hold that choke real quick to energize, throw a few nades. Don't let them try and get there for free. Don't let heavy set up for free here at all as best we can. Because usually they're going to have two imps. Very standard offense is going to have two imps and a heavy on the right side. And then they're going to have one imp on the left side, which we're going to make sure we disallow. And I'm going to explain how in just a minute. So when we get here, Worth, again, your number one responsibility, not to dumb rep. Don't just rep if it's like somebody fires a single triple that's not going to do anything. But if there are frags, an RPG that might hit Joe because he's low or you, always save yourself as well, obviously. Just rep. We're keeping Caw up as best we can. Save that rep charge also as best you can for rushes, right? So we're just shotgunning, and we're repping. Those are your main goals. After you're out of reps, if they've pushed down into this area, he should have landed. He should have been given enough time to throw 4 or 5 rounds of call. Then we step up and go into pure finishing. RG, 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 and hopefully Joe at that point will then switch into repping for you as you finish. So y'all are playing as a unit. He's repping first. You can always communicate to each other. If y'all are going down here and we just had a run and Worth wasn't able to push out and die, then he can say, hey, I don't have reps. And when you get down here, you can look to rep for Worth as he shotguns, and hopefully we'll also get more support EB from the left side, which I'm about to explain. That's really about it. Again, don't be dumb. If they just try and rush you down in this corner, we don't have to look to stand and fight here. We can if we feel like they're low and we can win it, but we can also just retreat here and do the same thing. Worth can continue to rep his retreat. With this setup specifically, if they try to rush that bottom, they're going to be under a lot of fire from turrets and from us. So really shouldn't be any major questions. One of the questions that I get asked often is, okay, what if the heavy's just sitting where that middle MG pile is right here? This is what Dino will do very often, is he'll just sit and just try and RPG one of the imps for like 40 RPGs. Who cares? If you're P6 and on decent energy, it doesn't even matter. You can eat like 5 of those and be all right as long as your energy is decent. I wouldn't even rep it unless one of y'all are looking very, very low. And again, the longer the offense takes to do anything, the more chip damage they should be taking, the lower their timer is getting when they get down here. Any questions from you two or anybody? Because there are a lot of people that I have put in at right side inf and it's call inf. Your goal, the first repper is always the right side shotgun imp. You're always repping for the call so he can get as many rounds as he can. And always remember the call will point you to your target. Oh, my bad, Ant. Hold on. Yeah, it's funny. I bet Jaguar didn't even have a rep charge. Let's wait on that. And I think a lot of those will be addressed in a live run. But do you have like a specific one in mind real quick that I can just ask me privately real quick? No, it doesn't worth. I usually prefer P6, but it's generally going to be your preference. Yep, I'm gonna address that for sure in just a moment. Yep. Yes, I still want you. I do still want you right, but we'll definitely address that in just a moment because that's usually how offenses will try to solve what I'm about to do with the left side is they'll just start sending two on the left, which is perfectly fine. So shouldn't be any questions there. You asked about armor. I don't really care about armor. I would prefer the right side imp to be P6, also because that's technically in the finishing role, and that's the role that I will allow the medic to summon, either the engineer first and then the finishing role if possible. If it's not possible, it's not possible, but that really helps on P6 to get summoned, and so you can just run out and finish in that role. But I don't think there are any other questions. So we're going to bring left side all the way back up here. Right side, stay there. Like, come all the way back up here with me. Okay. So as right's retreating down there, left's coming down here. I want dual EB from both engineer and medic right here. Right as they're turning corner, that EB needs to be hitting. The shotgun inf on this side can look for any opportunity, especially if they're just going to send one to land an RG here, because there's no reason to shotgun unless you know they're P6. And if you can land a quick RG as they're turning this corner, that's great. Or even a quick frag, whatever you can do again to make them earn that choke. Then the medic, after that first round of EB right here, right as they're coming through, should look to land tranks. 2 or 3. I don't want you spamming like 10, but 2 or 3. Because one trank landed there usually is going to mean they have to spend all of their reps saving one person, which means that's just a dead run at the boxes. Then you go right back to EBs. Whether you landed one or didn't, we're going back to EBs. Even if you landed one, we're just going to go back to EBing because that's just free on that target. So the goal here is to make sure that they cannot possibly have one inf on this side because 2 EBs is greater than 1, obviously. So the SL should not be able to outdrain our drainers in this on this left side. We want to alleviate pressure from the right side. Okay, so we want to force an inf to come over left. So then I'm going to now explain real quick what I want from the engineer in this position. I want the engineer to be responsible for Hearthbull's reps. The left side inf, he's going to rep for the left side inf. You're going to EB, look to ensign if you see an obvious opportunity. Don't turn into a robot here, guys. Don't just EB somebody 400 times. Like, if they've, in a matter of 3 to 5 seconds, is how fast all of this is going to play out. Probably closer to 5 to 7. But if you see somebody take 6 EBs directly to the face, step up and finish them with Hearth. Like, the quicker we just finish that left side, then the right collapses. So just make sure that we're not being dumb and just EBing over and over and over again. We want to change off of that, especially if it's a one isolated target. So remember, any engineer here is repping for Hearth. If you see an RG, again, don't dumb rep. If he's just trying to AR Hearth and Hearth has full health, we've got a medic who can just time that heal. Okay. And rep. And then also, once we know we've completely drained this area, usually all of us have played Inf long enough to know that if somebody catches 6 EBs here, what are they going to do? They're going to fucking retreat. They're not going to sit there and try and fight you on literally 0 energy with their PF off. So in that case, you can then turn your EB to the right side and continue to drain the right side. So that's really pretty straightforward. The medic, after you are landing EBs, your first concern is always the EB, but once you know they're low, we've went through multiple rounds of EBs, you can then step up and look to trank. Okay, you're not really on any kind of rep duty. That's silly, so don't ever worry about that unless you see an easy opportunity like someone's retreating. But I want you worrying about EBing, and I want you worrying about tranking a free target and healing. Healing even more important than tranking, obviously, but just you'll get a feel for it as we keep going. Any questions before I go into their responses? I'm going to try and finish this within the next 10 minutes. You can just PM me if you have any quick questions for the left side. I also feel like that's pretty straightforward. You're just EBing, looking for a trank opportunity. If you don't see it, EB, engineer reps for the left side imp who's going to try and step up and finish if there's one. So if a trank is landed, we're not overcommitting because what can happen? That's a good question by Galaxy. He said, "What is the process if a trank is landed?" So if a trank is landed here, we don't want to overcommit because they might play it really well as an offense, rep really hard, and then immediately turn on you here and kill you. We just want to look to land. I would honestly not even. This is one of the few instances where I wouldn't even mind AR fired at a trank's target here. Make them rep EB, and then let the left side imp try and land some AR or even another WP. Just make them use as much resources as we can. Because again, the offense using reps here means they don't have reps in the turret area. Means they're going to have a really failed setup for their heavy, most likely. So any kind of anything we can use on them as an inf is great. EB if you are one of the support classes. This is an instance too where I don't really mind firing a nade at them either. If that's it, I'm gonna address Joe's question real quick before we address, and I won't go into the specifics of push out and all that. We'll go over that later because that gets really like specific, and I don't want y'all to worry about. I mean, push out a flag room, I should say. I'll go over that as it happens. So if they start sending two over here, we literally just keep the same lineup. We just keep call over there because that makes call even more effective against two rather than three. And now they're still facing two EB and the left side inf, right? So then you just have to read situationally what they do. Yeah, if NG is mining, then we're going to be outnumbered either way they decide to do. Because if they're going to be three there and one there, that means left just backs up. These are ideal situations, and often your NG isn't going to be here. But these are the ideal runs where I want them. So if your NG is not here, yeah, that's the correct answer by Harith. If the NG is not here, I still want you on that right side, and I want the medic and Hearth basically giving more space. But EB, hard EB, and Hearth will be controlling too. I think generally speaking, when the NG isn't here, they'll probably try and send three back over there against a okay. Um So yeah, I generally think that against an organized offense, when the NG's gone, they're really going to try and let one person occupy the spot because they will not be able to fully win a right side 2v2 with Reds. They just won't. So I actually would welcome that all day, Joe. I would welcome a 2v2 on the right side all day because those two over there will definitely be able to hold left. But as long as this inf is backing up, repping for himself and trying to hold this left, they're just never going to be threatening turrets consistently. Any other questions before I discuss basically how the fork in the road for the defense down here, and then we can actually do a run? Okay, I'm going to move on here. So you drop. This is where the numbers game come into play, and this is where currently I think the current population is really struggling on reading numbers. So again, obviously situationally, if y'all are all low on energy and health, we don't just want to dumb push into their offense once one drops because an RG could then just wreck you. But when we drop one or two over here, we need to be really quick about moving as a group to go to the nearest target. This is when the medic can look to land more tranks. As soon as you land a trank, everybody, I don't want to see any passed up targets. This is a really common error currently in OVDs and mixes where people are leaving like one inf to take care of a tranked imp or a straggling imp. We don't want to do that, right? There's a lot of skill checks in this game, and sometimes you just get hit by an RG that does way more damage than you expected. And now the defense is basically in a pinch situation. We kill as we go. All four. If it's three of us up, four of us up, all five, it doesn't matter. We kill that one and we keep going. We do not beeline for the SL ever. Clears are rarely effective. Now, they'd be effective in an OBD, but we're not like training to get good at OBDs. That doesn't matter. In mixes, they're rarely effective. In squad games, they're rarely that effective. What you want to do is kill an inf as they attach or as they get summoned. Okay? And in an ideal situation, you would never kill the SL. Just let him continue running and kill who's attaching until he just gets out and they just expect that they need to start the run over. Any questions on a push out there? Really, we want to follow medic tranks and EB and call and just kill as we go. I can call out, I'm going to start by calling out targets on the defense, but generally speaking, once a defense gets accustomed to a few of those push outs, y'all won't really need a lot of calling out. And real quickly before we start a run, the other situation that comes up is like you have a fluky death. It happens. It's a chaotic dynamic game with, again, tons of skill checks. If you get outfought or you catch a random RG, we're not going to look to prolong the fight after that. We're generally going to back up, look to use our remaining reps as a team, get a summon or attach back, and then push out as 5 and look for nearest target, a nearest target sweep of the bottom. Let me read. It just causes turtling. And will kill any offensive momentum that your offense has. You want to be able to keep it as clean as you can, especially if your offensive pressure is kept up. You just don't want to clear the SL. It also, from just a defensive perspective, not even thinking about the broader 10v10 going on, the longer you can push an SL further. I mean, we've had SLs on defenses that I've run into like deep of the caves because we're just not killing them. We're just killing whoever's attaching. So that's great because that means they literally are not even in the base. They're not even a threat, and we can swing while they're that far out of the base as well. We can try and swing while they're still trying to muster up some kind of offensive threat. So we don't want to look to clear. We want to look to kill as they attach. That also staggers it. That also staggers their attach and their death timers. So the other thing, the last rule I'll say, this went a little bit longer than I wanted to on the explanation, but the last rule, and it's really, really hardline rule that I'm going to constantly remind if this happens, is that we can't panic. Let's say we take a horrible 2 deaths, right side, like, maybe Worth is out of reps, or it doesn't get communicated. Joe dies, Hearthbull dies, he just gets outfought, by DP or something. And then everybody has to retreat to the flag room. And we have to get into the flag room. Worth can't then freak out and go 1v4 the heavy and die. And then we can't have Hearth attach and go 1v4 the heavy and die. And we can't have Joe attach and go 1v4 the heavy and die. We're never ever going to be able to stabilize if that's the case. Like ever. And that's like 90% of the defenses in that way in OVDs and mixes, as I've watched. Like just 1v4 and constantly. It sucks, but you're going to have to let a little bit of damage occur. Retreat, rep from here. If you want to stay safe, rep from here. And then as soon as you get your 5, rep out. We don't have to be super organized early on. I used to literally assign first reps. It's not that important now since we're just learning. You can overlap reps, but just rep together, get out of the flag room, and kill nearest target. Trank if you can. Kill nearest target, kill second, then keep pushing out. Pretty straightforward. I know that's a ton of freaking information, so I'm going to reiterate the basics that I want to work on right now. Right side inf reps for call, then steps up to finish. Okay, you can shotgun. You can also throw some nades like I think Jewett mentioned or even AEI mentioned earlier. Why not throw nades? Well, you can absolutely throw nades while he's cawing because you do not have to dumb rep. I don't want you just repping if there's nothing there or nothing meaningful. I want you repping RGs, reading his energy as well. Read your call DM's energy. If he's getting E-beat from the other side, then yeah, an RG or a frag will kill him. So step up and smart rep for that. But in between that, when he's calling, toss your WPs, toss your frags, use all your resources. Okay. And then after you're out and you're looking to finish, Joe will switch over and hopefully rep from you. Thank you, Amok. I appreciate that. And then left side as well, please stop. And then left side, I want the dual EBs. I want attempted tranks. And then I also want the engineer repping for the inf on the left side so that they do not have to worry about repping. They just purely are finishing. Any questions? And we're going to actually get into runs finally. But take a wild guess, Jaguar. Top here was really simple. Worth, you already know. Just play it straightforward. Just shotgun, don't get caught, but don't let them come in without shotgun on top of them here. Right? And then just retreat and just don't get caught. And that's basically it. And then right when you get to here, look to throw like a WP or a frag or something off this wall and then get behind. Don't ever try. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say don't ever, but I'm not sure that I would look to RG here because you're going to stand still for a minute. And I've seen just a lot of imps get caught with a rep charge trying to RG here. That's why a nade, you can keep moving, throw it on that little wall there. That will be pretty much you and Hearth's obligation there. Oh yeah, that's something I completely forgot and wanted to mention. Everybody should have drops in D7. I wouldn't include ammo MG in your D7 drops just because the offensive heavy can pick it up if they need to. But please drop tranks, sentries, I guess pistol ammo for sure, yeah. Ignore accent. All right, I'm gonna channels. I think Kev, are you here now? Let me ask Kevin if he's here. Okay. Yeah, Joe, I was gonna start you off on the first one anyway, if that's cool. Okay, let me give Kevin the first lineup and then we're gonna go.